My mom made me sleep on her floor while her stepkids got my room. When her husband died, she came begging. She said, "Your dad is rich, he can pay for you." So he did. They say that love is free, but in my mother's house, love was a transaction. And apparently, my currency was no longer accepted. I grew up hearing one phrase more than any other. It wasn't "I love you," and it wasn't "I'm proud of you." It was a dismissal, sharp and cold. "Your father is rich, ask him." It was the answer to everything. If I asked for new cleats because mine were splitting at the seams, the answer was, "Your father is rich, ask him." If I needed money for a school field trip, she would sigh and say, "Your father is rich, ask him." If I asked for a hug, she wouldn't say it out loud, but her body language screamed, "Your father is rich, let his money hug you." My name is Ethan Caldwell. I am 26 years old. I am a senior investment banker specializing in distressed assets for a major firm in New York. I look a lot like my father. I act a lot like my father. And last week, my mother found out that I also handle money like my father. I don't invest in assets that have depreciated to zero. To understand why I closed the gate on my own mother, you have to understand the layout of my childhood. Specifically, you have to understand the floor plan of the house she chose over me. My parents divorced when I was 10. It wasn't amicable. It was a detonation. My father, Marcus Caldwell, was a corporate fixer. He owned Caldwell Global Solutions. He traveled 250 days a year, restructuring failing companies in Tokyo, London, and Dubai. He was stoic, efficient, and extremely wealthy. He provided everything: the estate, the luxury cars, the private school tuition, but he wasn't often there to see us enjoy it. He showed his love by working himself into the ground to ensure we never wanted for anything. My mother, Laura, got lonely. Or at least, that was her excuse. She was a part-time dental receptionist who enjoyed the lifestyle my father provided but resented the solitude. She started seeing a man named Gary Miller. Gary Miller was the manager of Sudsy's Auto Spa, a local car wash. He was loud, he drank cheap beer, and he had a chip on his shoulder the size of a boulder. He also had 2 kids from 2 different previous relationships: Bella Miller, who was 8, and Todd Miller, who was 12. My father found out about the affair in the classic way. Early return from a business trip, Gary's rusty pickup truck in the driveway of the Caldwell estate. He didn't yell. He didn't scream. He didn't throw things. He just hired a team of sharks from a top-tier law firm and ended the marriage in 3 months with surgical precision. He moved into a penthouse in the city and kept traveling. Mom moved in with Gary. They got married 6 months later, becoming Mr. and Mrs. Miller. And that's when I became the living room son. The custody agreement said I had to stay with my mother every other weekend and for half the summer. The first weekend, I went to stay at the Miller house. I walked in with my overnight bag, expecting a bedroom. Gary's house was a small, 3-bedroom ranch that smelled of stale cigarettes and fried food. I looked down the hallway. Bedroom 1 was Mom and Gary. Bedroom 2 was Todd. Bedroom 3 was Bella. "Where do I sleep?" I asked, looking at my mother. Well, Mom said, her voice high and fake cheerful, the way she talked when she knew she was doing something wrong but wanted to spin it. "Todd and Bella live here full-time, honey, so they need their own rooms. Since you're only here sometimes, we made you a special spot." She pointed to the living room. In the corner, behind the beige microfiber couch, was a box. It was an air mattress. It wasn't even inflated yet. "It's like camping," she said, clapping her hands together. "Every weekend is a sleepover." It wasn't like camping. It was like being homeless in your own family. For 4 years, every time I visited, I slept on that floor. The air mattress was cheap. It had a slow leak that no amount of duct tape could fix. I would go to sleep floating 6 inches off the ground, and by 3 a.m., I would be sleeping on the hard, grimy carpet, my hip digging into the floorboards, the plastic deflated around me like a shroud. I would wake up to Gary Miller walking past me in his underwear to get water from the kitchen, scratching his stomach and ignoring me. I would wake up to Todd stepping on my legs as he ran to the TV on Saturday mornings to play video games at full volume. "Watch it, roadkill," Todd would sneer, kicking my pillow aside. I hated Todd Miller. He was a bully who wasn't smart enough to be clever, so he just used volume and mass. He was failing math, failing English, but he was the king of that house because he was Gary's son. Gary was worse. Gary was insecure. He knew Marcus Caldwell was a titan of industry. He knew my father paid more in alimony in a month than Gary made in a year at the car wash. And it ate him alive. He tried to build himself up by tearing my father down. "Your dad is a crook," Gary would say, sitting in his recliner, drinking a beer while I tried to do my homework on the coffee table because I didn't have a desk. "Nobody makes that kind of money, honestly. He's probably laundering it. He's an absentee landlord, Ethan. He buys your love because he doesn't have time for you. He thinks writing a check makes him a father." I would sit there, biting my tongue until I tasted copper. It was ironic. Gary called my dad a crook, but Gary was living in a house my mother paid the down payment for using her divorce settlement from the Caldwell money. Gary called my dad an absentee landlord, but Gary was sitting 3 feet away from me and had never asked me a single question about my life. Gary was describing himself. He was just projecting his own failure onto my father's success. The financial abuse was subtle at first, then glaring. My mother received child support. A lot of it. My father paid the maximum state amount, plus extra for expenses. That money was legally meant for my care. It was meant to ensure that my standard of living at the Miller house matched the standard of living at the Caldwell penthouse. But I never saw it. When we went grocery shopping, Mom would fill the cart with Todd's favorite expensive sugary cereals and Bella's brand name snacks. When I asked for a specific kind of juice, the kind I liked, she'd sigh and put it back on the shelf. "Ethan, honey, things are tight," she'd say, looking pained. "Gary's hours got cut at the wash. We have to be careful." "But Dad sends you money from me," I said once. I was 11, standing in the aisle of the grocery store. "He sent a check every month." She spun around, her face hardening. "That money goes to the household, Ethan. Electricity, water, rent. You use those things, don't you? You use the lights? You flush the toilet. Stop being ungrateful. Do you know how much it costs to feed a family of 5? But the household included Todd and Bella. My dad was subsidizing her stepkids. Marcus Caldwell's hard work was paying for Todd Miller's PlayStation games and Bella Miller's dance lessons. I realized then that my mother had a policy: Ethan is Marcus's problem. If I needed clothes for school, she said, "Ask your dad." If I needed lunch money, she said, "Ask your dad." If I needed a haircut because my bangs were in my eyes, she said, "Ask your dad." She hoarded her own money and the child support to spend exclusively on Gary, Todd, and Bella. She bought them new bikes. She took them to the movies on weekends when I was at my dad's house. She bought Bella a pony for her birthday, a literal pony. They kept it at a local stable. I asked for a new baseball glove because mine was too small. She told me to ask my father. The breaking point, the moment the last thread of love snapped, was my 12th birthday. It fell on a Saturday, which meant I was at the Miller house. My father had sent a gift ahead of time, a new, high-end laptop I needed for school. He called me that morning from Tokyo. "Happy birthday, son," he said. His voice was tired but warm. "I'm sorry I'm not there. I'm closing a merger. We'll celebrate when I get back next week. Dinner at the steakhouse, just us. Order whatever you want." "Thanks, Dad," I said, holding the phone tight. "I miss you." "I miss you too. Try to endure the weekend. I know it's hard." Mom told me we were going out for a birthday lunch. I got in the back seat of the car, squeezed between Todd and Bella. I thought maybe we were going to the arcade or the burger place I liked. I thought maybe, just for today, I would get to choose. Instead, we pulled into the parking lot of the Pink Palace Tea Room. It was a place for little girls. Everything was pink. There were dolls in the window. There was lace on the tables. "Mom," I asked, horrified, "why are we here?" "Well," Mom said, checking her reflection in the rearview mirror and applying gloss, "Bella has been dying to come here, and it's the only time we could get a reservation. And since it's a celebration, I thought we could kill 2 birds with 1 stone. It's efficient." "But it's my birthday," I said. "I'm a 12-year-old boy. I don't want to have tea with dolls. I want a burger. Don't be selfish, Ethan, Gary grunted from the front seat. Bella's excited. Look at her face. Suck it up. It's just lunch. We went inside. I sat at a table covered in pink lace. I wore a party hat with glitter on it because the waitress said everyone had to wear one. I was 12. I was humiliated. Bella ordered a tower of cupcakes. She opened presents Mom had bought her just because. We didn't want her to feel left out on your birthday, Mom whispered to me. I sat there, staring at my empty plate. Mom didn't buy me a present. Not a card. Not a candy bar. Your dad got you that laptop, she whispered when she saw me looking at Bella's pile of gifts. That cost a fortune. That's enough for 1 year. We can't compete with the Caldwell money. I didn't eat. I sat there while Bella laughed and Todd threw sugar cubes at me when Mom wasn't looking. I realized then that I wasn't son. I was a hostage. I was a paycheck that showed up every other weekend. When my father picked me up the next week, he took one look at me and knew something was wrong. He took me to the steakhouse. The waiter knew us. He brought me a Shirley Temple without asking. Talk to me, Dad said. He put his phone away. He looked me in the eye. I told him everything. I told him about the air mattress that deflated every night, leaving me on the hard floor. I told him about Todd stepping on me. I told him about the Pink Palace. I told him about Gary calling him a crook. My father didn't get angry. He got quiet. It was a scary kind of quiet. The kind of quiet that precedes a hostile takeover. She spent your birthday at a tea party for her stepdaughter? He asked. Yes. And you sleep on the floor? Yes. He nodded. He took a sip of his wine. Ethan, he said, I have failed you. I thought providing money was enough. I thought if I gave her enough cash, she would take care of you. I thought she had a maternal instinct. I was wrong. It's okay, Dad, I said. You work. You have to travel. It's not okay, he said. I travel for work to build an empire for you. But what good is an empire if the prince is sleeping on the floor like a dog? He pulled out his phone. He made a call right there at the table. Elena, it's Marcus. Yes, I need you to find a full-time housekeeper. Someone who cooks, cleans, and can drive. Someone maternal. I don't care about the cost. I want the best. Yes, starting immediately. This is a priority. He hung up. Ethan, he said, from now on, you don't have to go back there if you don't want to. I am hiring a live-in housekeeper. Her name will be Mrs. Gable. She will be at the penthouse 24/7. When I am traveling, she will be there. You will sleep in your own bed. You will eat the food you like. You will never sleep on a floor again. Can we do that? I asked. What about the custody agreement? Mom says the judge ordered it. Let me handle the lawyers, Dad said. If your mother want to fight, I will buy the ring and the referee. But she won't fight. Not if I offer to let her keep the money. He was right. Mom didn't fight it. When Dad's lawyer contacted her, offering to let her keep the full child support payments if she agreed to let me live with Dad full-time. She signed the papers in 10 seconds. She sold me for $2,000 a month. She got to keep the money to spend on Gary and the stepkids, and she didn't have to deal with the inconvenience of having me on her living room floor. I moved into the penthouse full-time. Mrs. Gable was an older woman from Colombia. She was stern but warm. She cooked empanadas. She asked me about my day. She checked my homework. She attended my baseball games when Dad was in London. She became the mother figure I didn't have. But the most painful part was the baseball. I was good. Varsity starter as a freshman. My dad came to every game he could. He would fly in from Hong Kong, sleep on the plane, come straight to the field in his suit, and cheer for me. When he couldn't make it, he had Mrs. Gable recorded on an iPad, and we would watch it together over FaceTime that night, analyzing my swing. My mother never came. Not once. It's too far, she said on the phone when I invited her to the state championship. And Gary works late at the car wash. And Bella has dance recital. And Todd needs a ride to meet his juvenile officer. We're just so busy, Ethan. But I knew the truth. She didn't come because she didn't care. She didn't come because watching me succeed reminded her of the son she threw away. Gary came to one game. Just one. He stood by the fence, smoking a cigarette, looking out of place among the other parents. When I struck out in the third inning, He laughed loud enough for me to hear. Your old man pays for private coaches, and you still swing like a girl, he yelled. Waste of Caldwell money. I hit a home run in the next inning. I looked right at him as I rounded third base. He looked away, crushing his cigarette into the dirt. The final severance happened at high school graduation. I was graduating from St. Jude's Prep, paid for by Dad. Bella Miller was graduating from Northside Public High on the same day. The ceremonies overlapped by 2 hours. Mom called me a week before. Ethan, she said, I'm so sorry, but I can't make your graduation. Bella is graduating too, and, well, she's the first in her family to finish high school. It's a big deal. We have to support her. You understand, right? I'm your son, I said. I am valedictorian, Mom. I'm giving the speech. There was silence on the line. Then the excuse. I know, honey, but you're smart. You were always going to graduate. Bella, she struggled. She needs us there to cheer for her. If we aren't there, she might not walk across the stage. She has anxiety. Your dad will be there for you. You don't need me. You have Marcus. Bella needs me. Okay, I said, feeling the final brick slide into the wall between us. Goodbye, Mom. She went to Bella's graduation. I saw the pictures later on Facebook. Bella holding a bouquet of roses that probably cost $50. Mom beaming. Gary holding a proud dad sign. They went to Red Lobster afterwards to celebrate with a feast for kings. My dad flew in from Dubai. He sat in the front row. Mrs. Gable sat next to him, crying and waving a handkerchief, cheering louder than anyone when I gave my speech. She brought me flowers from her own garden. Afterward, Dad took us to Bernardine. He handed me a box. It was a vintage Patek Philippe watch. To time, he said, raising a glass of sparkling water, and to wasting no more of it on people who don't value you. Then came my 18th birthday, and with it, the reality check. In our state, child support ends at 18 or high school graduation. I had graduated. I turned 18. The checks stopped automatically. I didn't even notice because I didn't rely on them. But Mom, she noticed. 3 days after my birthday, she called me. It was the first time she had called me in 6 months. Ethan, honey, she said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. Happy belated birthday. Thanks, Mom, I said, wary. Listen, sweetheart, she said. There must be a mistake. The check from your dad didn't come this month. I know you're busy with college prep, but can you remind him? I paused. I looked at the calendar. Mom, I said, I am 18. I graduated. Child support is over. There was a silence on the other end, so heavy it felt like a physical weight. What do you mean over? She whispered. It stops, I said. That's the law. Dad doesn't have to pay you to take care of me anymore, especially since I haven't lived with you in 6 years. But how are we supposed to live? She shrieked, the sweetness vanishing. We relied on that money. Todd needs help with his fines. Bella needs a car for college. We built our budget around that check. You built your budget around my existence, I said cold. And now I'm an adult. The contract is up. You have to talk to him, she begged. Tell him to keep sending it. Tell him it's for your room, in case you visit. My room is the living room floor, Mom, I said. I don't think that costs $2,000 a month to maintain. I hung up. She called back 10 times. I blocked her number. I went to college. I studied finance. I want to be like him. I wanted to build walls. I want low contact. I stopped calling. She didn't seem to notice after she realized the money was truly gone. She sent me a text on my birthday, usually 2 days late. She never sent a gift. Your dad is rich, she'd text. Buy yourself something nice from us. I heard updates through the grapevine. Todd Miller dropped out of community college. He got arrested for possession. Mom bailed him out using her savings. Bella Miller tried to be an influencer. She lived at home, refusing to work, demanding Mom buy her designer clothes for her brand that had less than 1,000 followers. They were draining her dry, and she let them. She fed them because she needed them to need her. I didn't need her, so I was useless to her ego. When I was 25, my father, Marcus Caldwell, passed away. Wasn't sudden this time. It was cancer. We had 6 months. I took a leave of absence from my job. I sat by his bed every day. We talked about everything. I'm leaving you everything, Ethan, he said, holding my hand, his grip weak, but his eyes fierce. Caldwell Global. The properties. The portfolio. But promise me something. Anything, I said. Don't let them take it, he whispered. Your mother. Gary Miller. They are parasites. They consume. They don't build. Don't let them feed on what we built. I promise, I said. He died peacefully. I missed him every day. 3 months later, Gary got sick. It was aggressive lung cancer. Years of smoking at the car wash. He didn't have insurance because he thought it was a scam. Mom called me. It was the first time we'd spoken in a year. Gary is sick, she cried into the phone. We need money for treatment. The experimental drugs aren't covered. We sold the truck, but it's not enough. I'm sorry to hear he's sick, I said. Can you help? She asked. Your father left you millions. I know he did. You can spare $50,000. It's for family. I thought about Gary calling my dad a crook. I thought about the air mattress. I thought about the Pink Palace. I thought about Gary laughing when I struck out. No, I said. Ethan, she screamed. He's your stepfather. He helped raise you. He's the man who made me sleep on the floor, I said. He's the man who called my father a crook. Ask Todd. Ask Bella. You spent all your money on them. Let them pay. They don't have any money, she wailed. Todd is unemployed. Bella is struggling. Then I guess you made a bad investment, I said. I hung up. Gary died 2 months later. The medical bills wiped Mom out. She had to sell the ranch house to pay the debts. That brings us to last week. I live in my father's house now, the big Caldwell estate outside the city. It has a gate, a tall, iron gate with security cameras. It looks like a fortress. My phone buzzed. Motion detected at front gate. I looked at the screen. It was my mother. She was wearing black. She looked old. She was holding an eviction notice in one hand and a suitcase in the other. She pressed the intercom button. Ethan, she said, her voice cracking. I know you're in there. Please, open the gate. It's Mom. I walked out the front door. I walked down the long driveway. I stopped on the inside of the gate. I didn't open it. She gripped the bars. Her knuckles were white. They took the house, she sobbed. The bank took it. Todd is in jail again. Bella moved in with a boyfriend who won't let me stay. I have nowhere to go. I'm sorry, I said. I'm your mother, she said. I need a place to stay. You have 10 bedrooms in there. You have a guest house. Just let me stay in the guest house. I won't bother you. I can help with the cleaning. Mrs. Gable does the cleaning, I said. No, I said. Why, she wailed. Because of the air mattress? That was years ago. I'm sorry. Is that what you want to hear? I'm sorry. I was trying to keep the peace. It's not about the mattress, I said. It's about the math. She blinked, confused. What? I'm an investment banker, Mom, I said. I look at returns on investment. You invested everything you had, your time, your love, your money, into Gary, Todd, and Bella. You poured every resource into the Miller family. You bet your entire life on them. I was trying to be a good wife. And you invested zero in me, I said. You didn't spend a dime. You didn't spend an hour. You didn't show up. You told me my father was rich, so he should pay. Well, he did pay. He paid for my clothes. He paid for my school. He paid for my home. He paid for my peace. So share it with me, she begged. He was my husband once. No, I said. This is his legacy, not yours. You bet on the wrong horse, Mom. You backed Gary's kids. And now they failed. You don't get to cash out on an investment you never made. You're ungrateful, she screamed, her face twisting into the ugly look I remembered from the grocery store. Your father turned you into a monster, a cold, heartless monster. My father turned me into a man who knows his worth, I said, and my worth is higher than a spot on your living room floor. I turned around. Ethan, she screamed, where am I supposed to go? You have a daughter, I said, not looking back. Bella, go ask her. Maybe she'll take you to the Pink Palace for tea. I hear they have great cupcakes. I walked back up the driveway. I pressed the button on my remote. The heavy iron gate clicked, locking tight. I went inside. Mrs. Gable was in the kitchen. She had made empanadas. "Who was that?" she asked, looking worried. "Nobody," I said. "Just a solicitor selling something I don't need." I sat down at the head of the table my father bought, in the house my father built. I am my father's son, and the walls he built are finally holding. Have you ever dealt with a parent who projected their spouse's insecurities onto you? Do you think Ethan was right to leave his mother outside the gate? If you believe that you can't withdraw from an account you never deposited into, hit that like button and subscribe. #karma.